is an adult education teacher from Marian University, pursuing his Master's of Education in Curriculum and Instruction at Western Governors University. In his free time, Evan loves to spend time with friends and family, enjoying life and great conversation. His wife, Patricia, and his 3 daughters are more than enough motivation for him to achieve anything. Will you give him a round of applause? You think you're good?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, how are you?
So, there were 2 guys, Jim and John, and they were walking down the street. I'm from southeastern Ohio, like Julie said, so I am big on dogs. Like, country folk love dogs, don't they? I mean, those of you who are country, I can't get along without my dog. And they're walking down the street, and both of them had their dogs with them, and Jim got hungry, and he said, hey, let's go in here and let's grab a bite to eat. John's like, well, we can't go in there. Don't you see the sign? It says no pets allowed. He goes, I got this. So he pulls out 2 pairs of sunglasses. And he gives John a pair and he says, watch and do what I do. And so Jim puts his sunglasses on and he walks up to the door, and the owner of the establishment said, hey, look, there are no pets allowed here. And he says, don't you see? This is my seeing eye dog. And the owner of the establishment said, yeah, but it's a Doberman. Who uses a Doberman as a seeing eye dog? And John was like, oh, no. It's the new kind of seeing eye dog. Oh, they're all the rage in the world. They're so loyal, and they won't let you fall into any problems or anything like that. And the guy said, okay, you can go on in. Jim walks up to the door. Jim puts on the sunglasses, and the guy stops him right at the door. He goes, whoa. You can't tell me that your Chihuahua is a seeing eye dog. And Jim said, really quick, they gave me a Chihuahua? You'll get that on the way home for those of you who are laughing. Jag, you are absolutely incredible. And let me tell you why. The fact of the matter is that as a JAG specialist, I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of young people. I spent a lot of time looking into young people's eyes like yours, trying to figure out what they wanted out of life, trying to find out that one thing that just makes them tick. And the fact is that there's a lot of you sitting in this room today who, quite frankly, are dressed up and wish you weren't, right? Let's be honest. Let's keep it real, okay? I like to keep it real, all right? So some of you sitting there, you're like, man, I can't stand this stuff anymore. That's why you guys persevere. You push through. You do what is required and even go above and beyond that. And that's why I love JAG students. $26 million secured in scholarships in 1 year. 89% positive outcomes, which means that you all are out there leading the way for young people, getting jobs, going to college. 95% graduation rate as opposed to 89% graduation statewide. 135 programs in 123 high schools, and 18,000 plus of you who are now JAG alumni. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely amazing. Yes. And if you guys don't know how amazing you are, hopefully in these next few minutes, you'll start to get it. You see, JAG means something different for me. JAG means something so much richer and so much greater than just jobs for America's graduates. I remember when I told my dad, I said, Dad, guess what I'm doing? He goes, what? I said, I'm a JAG specialist. And he says, when did you join the Army? Like, Dad, first of all, you need to quit watching a lot of TV. Second of all, that means jobs for America's graduates. That means I get to work with some of the best and brightest students who don't believe or haven't been told that they are the best and brightest. I get to work with young people who have not only been down and out, but young people who have been run up the river and sold short by other people in their lives. And I get to allow them to see who they are from the outside rather than take all the stuff that you guys have been piled up with already for all your life and just look at yourself through that lens. I get to help you create a new lens. That's what your specialist does.
Yes.
That's what they do day in and day out, and I know you guys know it. I know you guys appreciate what they do for you, even though sometimes we get on your nerves. We know we do because that's part of our job. It's to get on your nerves sometimes, y'all. But the fact is that this world is a better place because you are right here, right now. Your world has changed. And your world has changed because you have changed. And so let me tell you why I'm here. JAG for me means something different. The J means justice. You know, one of the things that I love about millennials, and this is weird coming from a Gen Xer, like an old Gen Xer, right? I mean, you know, it's not like you're going to ever card me if I go into a bar. It's not happening, okay? But what I love about millennials, what I love about you guys is this, is that despite everything that everybody says about you, your generation is the single most caring and loving and loyal generation that there is. You guys will stop at nothing for things you are passionate about. And one of those things that I know your generation is so passionate about is justice. You want justice. You want justice for those who don't have a voice. You want justice for those who have never ever been listened to. You want justice for those that you know that you are their only hope. And my friends, I'm here to tell you today that justice is something that you can bring. I remember growing up. How many of you actually grew up in the country? How many of y'all grow up in the country? Like, you know, there's the Walmart, right? It's not a Walmart. It's the Walmart, right? We call it the Walmart, the Dollar General. Okay. I grew up in the country. Okay. This is how country we were. Like, we used to get together, we'd have to like walk miles to get other kids to play with us, right? I mean, that's how country it was. So we would get together every weekend and just get together and play some football, pick up football. And I remember my brother. My brother is about 6 foot, 370 pounds right now. He's a big boy, right? But he has a soft heart. And when I was a kid, I was like this tall and half of me. I was like $120 soaking wet, okay? And so I really didn't have a lot going for me in football. We played one Saturday, the 3rd Avenue gang, all right? You guys have these folks, thinks they're all that in a bag of chips, right? You know, that's a Gen Xer thing. I don't know what to say now. I just don't know what to say. But they thought they were all that. So they said, you know, we're going to beat you guys. We're finally going to beat you guys. And I remember lining up across from LaRon Close. LaRon was this big, huge guy that played football for our high school team. And I'm like, I got it. I got this. I had the little man syndrome. You know, I did. You know what I'm talking about? Like, whenever you start to think that you actually can do something that you know in your heart that you shouldn't even try to do. Okay? So I lined up from this big, huge monster of a guy, and I said, okay, I'm going to guard him. The only thing I guarded on him was the bottom of his feet. He ran me over like it was nobody's business. My brother saw that. And he said, big brother, now I'm the oldest, so, you know, if you're the oldest, you feel like you're in charge of protection of your siblings. So when your youngest sibling says, hey, I got this, you know, I'm bleeding and, you know, my nose is broken. I'm like, no, I got this. I got it. He's like, no, I got this. The very next play, I've never seen a 6 foot, 370 pound young man move so fast. He destroyed the entire side of their line, and I was able to limp my way to a touchdown, right? And I never forgot that. I never forgot that my brother wanted justice for me. He wanted to make sure that I was okay, and he put himself in line to make sure that that happened. Martin Luther King says, justice delayed is justice denied. And so many of you sitting here today understand that. You understand that the things that you've been through with your family, the things you've been through with your siblings, the things you've been through in school and out of school, those things may not have been very good times in your life. And you may feel like those things demand justice. Why me? Why was it me that had to endure this? Why did my family have to undergo this? Why did I have to face this trial? Why did I have to go through all of this stuff when I don't feel like justice has been done? Oh, my friends. Every day you set foot in a JAG classroom. Every day you complete an assignment. Every day you give everything that you have. Justice is being won. Every time your blood, sweat, and tears goes into a project that you know that you started out not knowing anything about, but then became a subject matter expert on, my friends, justice is being done. Every time you receive that pat on the back from your specialist, every time you finally realize, you know what, I can do this, justice is happening. And as a JAG alumni, as all of you soon will be, you have the opportunity and the responsibility to demand justice. You have to demand it, folks. Because in our world today, justice is one of those commodities that doesn't just merely bubble to the surface. Justice, you've got to dig for it. You've got to work at it. You have got to be determined that I'm going to set myself aside and make sure that the difference I make in this world is made through justice. The A stands for advocacy. My grandfather was a big guy. We've got big guys in our family. I don't know why did it skip me? I want like this. I was like, oh, I want to be big. But my grandfather was this big, menacing guy, but he was such a sweetheart. Grandpa Casey and Grandma Casey used to live in town, actually on 3rd Avenue. And so there was kind of the neutral zone between us country boys and the city boys, right? So it was our neutral zone, and Grandpa and Grandma was the family, was the house that everybody knew. That if you were hungry, you could go and you could get something to eat. That if you were thirsty, you could go get something to drink. And that my grandfather, whose nickname affectionately was Boob. Boob Casey. And that was before all the connotations, so you can snicker, it's okay. But that was his nickname. Everybody knew him as Boob Casey. Hey, where's Boob? There he is, all right, good. They knew that they had someone to talk to. My grandfather was the biggest advocate for African Americans in our city. Because, quite frankly, there wasn't a lot of us. And you got to remember, this was the late 70s, early 80s when I was growing up. And times were sad. It was bleak. We were a generation of people that didn't understand that people are people. Like you guys do. That's why I'm so excited for you. You get it. You guys advocate. Well, my grandfather was such an advocate. He didn't let anything happen to his family. So much so that one day, while Grandpa and my father and my mother, who was my father's fiance at the time, were sitting on the front porch, one person walked by and made a disparaging remark towards my mom. And my grandfather wouldn't stand for it. He came down off the porch just furious because he's like, I'm not going to let that happen to my family. And he came down off the porch. And as he reared back, because this guy was swinging at him, as Grandpa reared back, he realized that my mom had followed him down, trying to stop him, and he had just punched my mom in the face. So it's like, poof, and he stops. And he looks, he's like, oh my goodness, Carolyn. And she's like, it's okay, it's all right. I learned two things from that. Number one, there is no better people to advocate for than those whom you love dearly. And I know some of you are sitting in here, quite frankly, in situations to where you don't have anyone in those four walls you call home who really advocate for you. But my friends, the beautiful thing about it is that family isn't always blood. Family is who you want it to be. And when you become an advocate for those you love, you change a little bit of the world. The second thing I learned from that was, man, my mom could take a punch. I didn't mess with her. I'm like, man, I'm not messing with you, lady. Anything you want. She's like this tall, you know? I'm like, what? But when you advocate for people you love, you change the world. But my friends, when you advocate for those people that you don't even know yet, you change someone else's world. It's easy to change where you're at. Just move around. Just do what you want to do. That's a change, right? If you've seen Willy Wonka, one of the greatest pieces that we miss sometimes of that movie is whenever he's singing, if you want to change the world, and he plucks a hair from the guy's head and just does this and says, just do it. It's easy to change your own world, but it's hard to change someone else's. But my friends, there's no greater joy. That's why there's people who call you nonstop if you're gone. Hey, where were you at? I didn't see you in JAG class today. That's why they do that. That's why there's people who constantly get on your nerves about your projects, about, hey, how's your speech coming along? Hey, did you get this together? How's the video coming? That's why those folks do what they do. Is because they advocate every day, day in, day out, for you. And it is your job to advocate for others. Last but not least, some of you sitting in here may think good enough is good enough. At least where I'm from, the path to prison is littered with young men and young women who thought good enough was good enough. For me, the G in JAG has to stand for greatness. Not perfection, but greatness. When you think of greatness, you think of people like Dr. King. You think of people like our founding fathers of our country. You think of sports athletes. You think of people who have made it in the music industry. That's what a lot of us feel is great. Not me. Greatness, as shared with me by one of the specialists here, greatness is losing everything 5 days ago and yet still pursuing your dream. Greatness is getting up and rising up out of the ashes of a life that is broken and saying, I'm not staying there. Please do not compare the greatness that is set aside for you to anyone else's. Your greatness is set up for you to strive into, my friends. And if you start looking around and saying, you know what, this isn't, my dreams aren't that great, you're going to start believing it. A lie believed long enough becomes truth. And my friends, it's time that you stop believing the lie that small dreams will just be that small. That small dream that you have may provide greatness for someone who needs it. And that's what makes it a great dream. Your greatness is dependent upon how great you feel about you. Yours is a generation that is unique. Yours is a generation, quite frankly, that I'm envious of. You have the world at your fingertips. You have our attention. And as JAG participants, you're leading the way in your schools. I just read the stats at the beginning of my speech, guys. You're killing it. You're doing a great job. But the fact is, your job doesn't end when you walk across that stage. It's just beginning. Because, my friends, we're going to need more JAG specialists. We're going to need more JAG coordinators. We're going to need more JAG administration. We're going to need more state JAG personnel. We're going to need more national personnel. We're going to need a new president. We're going to need a new vice president. And I don't think there's any other people suited for that job as well as you. These are my final words. You are great. You are powerful. You are mighty. And even though we are few, we are one. And as long as we are united together, as long as you keep on course, you will accomplish everything. Everything that you want. And your legacy of greatness will be written. My friends, thank you. God bless you. Take care.